Hey everybody, Kyle Sasser here, and it's everyone's favorite time of the month. That's right, market statistics time. These market statistics are for June 2022. You might be asking yourself, it is July. Why are we looking at June numbers? And there's definitely a good reason for that. One is that it naturally takes the local realtor organization or the MLS, whatever you'd like to call them, it takes them a while to get these statistics together. And honestly, it takes real estate agents a while to put the information in as well. So these statistics usually lag behind about a month. In addition, we're also not looking at month-to-month numbers. We're actually looking at year over year. So we're not looking at June 2022 compared to May 2022. What we're actually looking at is June 2022 compared to June 2021. So it's important to know that information because it does affect our interpretation of these results. And the reason why we look at year over year is because real estate usually does not move that fast. It usually takes a long time for statistics to show a clear change. Currently, we are in the midst of a pretty significant shift with real estate. So I'm actually having to look at both year to year, so June 2022 versus June 2021, as well as month to month. I have the 2021 numbers here next to me. But basically we have a new trend that has shaped up here in the last 2 to 3 months, and I will be giving you all that detail and explanation in this video, so be sure to watch until the end. So if we're looking at big picture here, the overall trend for the last year and a half has been shrinking inventory, highly escalating median and average sales prices. Now, I know there's a lot of talk in the news and probably your friends that, the real estate market is busting now and there's price reductions all over the place. The truth of the matter is, yes, we are in the middle of a market shift right now. I'm going to go over all those details with you. However, median and average sales prices compared to last year are still increasing. Best way that I can explain it is that we no longer can just completely make up numbers and have a buyer come along that's willing to pay those numbers. So the price reductions are a little bit of a misnomer currently because it's kind of like trying to sell a can of Coke for $10. There's only a few market conditions that will support selling a can of Coca-Cola for $10. And that's going to be, like inside of a stadium or at a concert or something like that. So what's happening is there's lots of sellers and real estate agents that are still trying to take big swings at unproven numbers. And what's happened is the demand is no longer there to support those big numbers. So then they put through a price reduction which tries to bring things a little bit more in line with, quote unquote, normal market conditions. So that's kind of a basic overview. I want to get into the real nuts and bolts of all this stuff, and then after I go over the stats, I will go over interpretations and what's kind of coming down the pipeline and what I'm keeping an eye on. So for Hillsborough County, June 2022 versus June 2021, total number of closed sales dropped 20.3%. to a total of 1,829. Total number paid in cash dropped 15.4% from 648 to 548. That is actually a little bit of note because there was a period in time where people were pulling cash or leveraging investments or some such to where they did not have to finance transactions. It's interesting to note that those cash purchases are declining pretty significantly. Median sales price is up 26.1%. From $345,000 to $435,000, and the average sales price is up 28.5% from $432,769 to $556,140. Now, if you remember back to your math class, the difference between median and average. So average sales price is you take 5 houses, you add up the price that all those sold at, and then you divide it by 5. That'll give you the average. Median sales price is a little different. Let's say that you have 12 houses. So the median price is the point at which there's an equal number of houses that sold above that number as well as below that number. So it's more of a true middle point. Personally, I give median sales price a little bit more weight just because with the average sales price, If there's a large number of very inexpensive, which is unlikely in this current market, or very expensive houses that sell, which is a little bit more likely, it can pull that average sales price significantly. Total dollar volume, I believe this is the first point in time where Hillsborough County has actually sold exactly $1.0 billion in 1 month, which is crazy. It had been bounced around between like 992 and 990 for a while, but June 2022, Hillsborough County, we sold $1 billion worth of and that's just single family homes. That's not condos or townhomes. Median percentage of list price. So what this is what percentage of the asking price are sellers getting? And the bad news is it's still going above asking price. Not by as much. It dropped from 100.7 to 100.5%. But we are right around that asking price number, and in many cases a little bit above. Median time to contract is up 40%, which sounds huge, but that went from 5 days to 7 days, which is not that big of a deal. That is still blisteringly quick. Total number of new listings is up 14.3% to a total of 2,731. That's a pretty good chunky increase from 2021 numbers. So definitely more people looking to sell, definitely more newer homes that are not getting snapped up immediately once they're available. So that's a good sign, especially for buyers. And then total inventory. Now this is a big number. So total inventory is up 82.9% from 1,535 to 2,807. And I'm going to dive into this. I'm going to give you a little bit more insight into this and kind of like what the next few months are probably going to look like. So stay tuned. But first, I do want to dive into a little bit more of the specific numbers here, especially broken down by price point, because a $1 million house does sell for a little different time frames and just methodology than like a $250,000 house. So there has been a little bit of a split at the $300,000 mark, or sorry, the $400,000 mark. It kind of bounces between 300 and 400 in Hillsborough. Pinellas is pretty square at the 300 mark. Basically below 400,000, the trend has been fewer houses for sale in that price point. And apparently a lot more houses for sale above that $400,000 or $300,000 price point. Now, the initial off the cuff is that somebody's building a lot of houses in those price points, but that's not actually what had happened. What happened was houses that were, $220,000 or $315,000, those have moved up into the higher price points currently. And I'm not going to go over every one of these, but just $250,000 to $300,000 is down 78% to 102, and then $400,000 to $600,000 was up 56.7% to 732, and $1 million or more was up exactly 1/3, 33.3%, for a total of 116 closed sales. Median time to contract is kind of going wonky, so this is how long something has been listed for sale until it gets an offer and an accepted contract. So 300,000 and above, it's pretty standardized. 7 days, 400 to 600,000 is 6 days, 600 to $1 million is 6 days, and then $1 million or more is 9 days. That is for $1 million plus property, that is super fast. Now, under 300, things get wacky. And the reason why is because the homes that are under that $300,000 mark, they are usually have issues, and with issues comes, people trying to get higher prices than the condition of the home would support, which leads to longer time to contracts because, even though the real estate market is still pretty tight, you still have people that just they're not really interested in taking on projects, especially at elevated prices. So it takes a little time for people to kind of figure that out. So $100,000 to $150,000. Time to contract was up 269% for a total of 48 days. $200,000 to $250,000 was up 120% to 11 days. And $250,000 to $300,000 was up 150% to 10 days. So remember, it's not that there's not people that would be thrilled to purchase a house in that price range. Like, that is the quick but incorrect interpretation of that. And I know because I go and look at homes in these price range. So, the reason those numbers are higher than like the 400 or $400 and $600,000 marks is because those homes are in terrible condition, and they just took that long to find somebody willing to take that project on. Total number of new listings, there is something very surprising in this. So $400,000 to $600,000 price mark, and this backs up with the median sales price here. So the total number of new listings in that price range is up 105.9% for a total of 1,079 homes. $300,000 to $400,000 only dropped 3.1% for a total of 730. But then whenever you get to that 250 to 300 mark, again, this is where there's just not that many houses going up for sale in that price point. That's down 66.1% for a total of 146. And then total inventory by current list price. Current listing price $400,000 to $600,000 is up 255% for a total of 1,033 homes. And again, that is where the bulk of homes in Hillsborough County are getting listed at. $300,000 to $400,000 is up 61.1% to 659. $600,000 to $1 million is up 96.4% to 495. And honestly, I want to mention again in this video, because I know that there's some people at the MLSs that watch these videos. The price splits that we have here are not very helpful anymore. Like, I don't think we really need the less than 50,000 or the less than 100,000. Like, I feel that we could move these price brackets around and have a little bit more actionable information on the market here. Like $400,000 to $600,000 is a huge swath of the market currently, and I would definitely rather have a little bit more fine-grained information on that. Doom and gloom page here, which is last page of the report. So this is going to be foreclosure, short sales, bank-owned properties, REOs, and all that fun stuff. We have not had an overwhelming flood of short sales or foreclosures. A lot of people were predicting that with the eviction moratorium and the foreclosure moratorium lifted, that we would see this flood of foreclosures. That is absolutely not happening, which I didn't think it would, for obvious reason. And that is, if you are facing a foreclosure or a short sale, you can currently sell your house for almost certainly more than you owe on it. And you would probably put, a big chunk of change in your pocket. And I actually just did this for a client of mine. They were basically had walked away from this condo. They had given up on it over a year ago, and they mentioned it to me just kind of in passing. And I was like, let me do the research, let me look. And sure enough, I was able to help them sell their condo. I was able to make a commission. We were able to sell the condo, and they were able to put $40,000 in their pocket out of what they had basically given up on, and were looking to take a big hit to their credit. So if you're facing foreclosure or short sale, please, the market is still extremely well suited to selling it rapidly. That one only took like 3 weeks. Selling extremely rapidly and putting some money in your pocket. That is not always going to be the case. So, don't hesitate to reach out. But there was a total of 4 foreclosures in the entire county for June 2021 or 2022, which was a drop of 20%, and there was a total of 3 short sales, which was a 66.7% reduction. The interesting thing on the short sale is that the median sales price of those short sales was up 107.7% for a total of $540,000 for the median sales price for those. So I mentioned at the beginning of this video that we're definitely in the middle of a market shift, and that is absolutely true. Everyone's time frame for real estate market shifts, though, is way off for a very simple reason. People are not in the business or habit of selling their house for less than they paid for it. So just keep that in mind with everything. Now, I did read an article. Forbes said that by the fall that home prices are going to be dropping like at 25% or something ridiculous, 40%. That would be an absolute economic catastrophe, and there's no way in hell that it's going to happen. So the last major economic catastrophe we had, which was the Great Recession, technically kind of started in 2007, didn't really get rolling until 2008. And even then, the price reduction was maybe like 5% at that point in time. It took all the way to 2010 for prices to actually slide 30 to 40% depending upon what part of the country that you're in. So that magazine article, if you want to call it that, I think it was just a blog post of somebody just making stuff up for clicks. To believe that there is some chance of that happening in 2 months is ridiculous and completely misunderstands the real estate market entirely. And here's the reason why. People don't wake up overnight and decide to sell their house for 20% less than they paid for it. It just does not happen. The only time that people are willing to sell that much lower is when they are absolutely desperate. And to become absolutely desperate, it takes time. And we have not had enough chance to build that sort of problem. Because even though we have building inventory, compared to 3 to 4 years ago, those numbers are still crazy. We still have a crazy low amount of homes for sale, and we still have a crazy amount of people looking to buy homes. And financing is still relatively easy. When I mention financing, everyone goes, oh, interest rates. Here's the thing to know about interest rates. The 2 to 3% that we have been able to get for the last year or two, that was because of COVID. That is not where interest rates normally are. If you look at a chart of historic interest rates, and you can go all the way back to the 70s, the only time that we had interest rates in the twos was basically the last 12 months. And for the last 20 years, interest rates have been bouncing around between about 4% and 6%. Now, currently we're a little bit above 6%, although that does change weekly. But I do still have clients that are able to get in the fours. And a lot of that has to do with financial situation as well as how much you can put down. And if you have cash, you can buy down. There's some programs where you can buy down percentage points, but it is all very specifically for your financial situation. So don't think that it's impossible to buy or that you're paying some crazy interest rate. 4 to 6% for the last 20 years is where interest rates have been. And then also if you want some really fun stuff, go look at interest rates in the late 70s to the mid 80s when they're bouncing around like 12 to 16%. My hat's off to anybody who bought a house in the late 70s to the 80s. The other thing to keep in mind is just how people react to news as well as the process of selling their house. The thought that the market at any point in time was going to maintain this blisteringly fast pace is not realistic at all. That's basically the high point of demand versus supply ratio. And markets being market, they are going to try to find equilibrium somehow. So demand is currently down significantly, and we're building inventory. It's going to take a while for that to show up as truly reducing prices though. So a true reducing price is when the average and median sales price is lower than it was 12 months ago. And to be honest, we have 2 or 3 mileposts that we need to get past before then. And if you look back to my previous videos, you will know what they are already. But first milepost is we have to build inventory, specifically absorption rate, but inventory needs to go up. We need more houses for sale than people are buying. As long as more people are buying homes than we are listing for sale, it's always going to be high demand. Prices are always going to be skyrocketing. So now we are actually adding inventory, significantly so. Over 40% in the case of Pinellas and over 80% in the case of Hillsborough County. That's crazy. The next number that should move is time to contract, and it is not moving yet. So what that tells me, what that time to contract number tells me is that we still have a very large amount of demand. If we did not have that demand, that time to contract would start moving significantly. June, it went from 5 days to 7 days. For this month, July, it has moved more. I think the last numbers I looked at was it's hanging around like 15 days, which is 2 weeks. Compared to normal market conditions, quote unquote, that is still blisteringly fast. A seller's market is whenever you are able to go under contract up to within 40 to 60 days. That is a seller's market. That means that prices are going up and buyers are not getting as many concessions as they were able to. A neutral market is anywhere between 40. A neutral market is going to be like 60, 70 days, somewhere around there, 60, 70, 80 days. And then a buyer's market is going to be usually 60 days or more. So that's when sellers' prices should be coming down, buyers are able to get more concessions, seller paid closing costs, etc., etc. I need to be very clear on this. We are nowhere close to a buyer's market. If anything, what we're at currently is we had the pedal to the metal for the last year, and we've lifted off currently to about 3/4. Now, we might continue letting off that pedal, but we're not anywhere close to hitting the brakes yet. And that's not me trying to be salesy. That's just me monitoring the MLS data, seeing how long things are hanging around on the market, seeing what successful offers actually look like to get accepted. Now, the plus side is the days of having to offer, $20,000 to $60,000 above asking price and going up against 30 or 40 other offers, thankfully that's not the case anymore. But on a fully renovated home in a great neighborhood, that is on everybody's radar, if it has a pool, garage, done up to the nines, there's still going to be a significant amount of interest on that, and you're probably still going to have to go above asking price. But if you are in the market for, a home that needs a little bit of work or something that's a little off the beaten path, good news is we're actually able to negotiate asking price, or in many cases below asking price. That is where we're at. We're not at the point where sellers are, wailing, please won't anybody buy my house. That doesn't really happen until we get to that 60-day contract mark. And we're currently at 7, so we got a long way to go there. But that said, if this current trend continues, I would fully expect to start to see price reductions not anytime within the next few months, unless there's a major economic catastrophe blows up. But if this continues for 6 to 18 months, which is how long the previous trend of extremely shrinking inventory and skyrocketing prices, if you go back to my videos in June of last year, I was already forecasting that, hey, prices are going to go nuts and people are going to lose their mind. So real estate just takes a long time to get going. And if this trend continues, I would expect to see the price reductions start to come more in the 6 to 18 month price range. So if you've been thinking about selling, now is the time. Now is the time to call me and get me to put that sign in your yard, and let's get that place sold. Well, thank you so much for watching the market statistics video for June 2022. I want to thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them down below. If you want to have me do up a home valuation, or if you have an interest in purchasing a house and how to get a house under contract for less than asking price currently, just leave me a comment down below, or you can give me a call or text at 813-323-7396. Like, subscribe, you know the theme on that one. And other than that, thank you for tuning in, and I'll talk to you soon.